Over these different nations. So they would take over a nation, but then they would leave and go hit another nation, and they'd be frustrated because that nation was still just living like they always did. But they figured they had something better than everybody else. They were Rome. And so they got this idea to train up apostles with an apostleship, which was a whole bunch of people that brought the culture with the apostle to that now nation, and they put that person into power with their apostleship, and they made it look like Rome. So when you would actually in those days go into those cities, it would feel like Rome. It was Rome. It's just as much as it was. And that was what Jesus was saying. So everybody, when he called them apostles, they all understood what was going on. And I want to just speak this into the air, but I'm not blasting you, but I'm speaking this from my generation, my age group. Let's get over this apostle so that we can just start using it as a function. We're so like, oh, don't call apostles because that's too high. No. He built upon the apostles and the prophets. You get that he built upon it? It's a servant place. Brent's a servant in the house. He serves like you wouldn't believe. He's given up his life, in the sense of finances, to do what he's doing. I love that he's here. Somebody asked me, are you going to be nervous because Brent's there? No! He's a papa. He's more excited for me than I am. No, he is. He gets something to learn. I'm just going off here a bit, but something you learn about Brent. I want to speak this over our church because I brought up to Brent. I hear it. Oh, I don't want to pray because Brent's at the prayer meeting. I'm going to tell you this man's heart. He is more excited for you to succeed than you realize. He's not sitting there right now going, oh, Kevin, you screwed up. Oh, man, you should have done this. No, he is so excited to see people because that's the call on his life. Brent is constantly going, how do we bring heaven to earth? That's why he keeps coming back, and you wonder why there's these churches wanting to get a hold of what we're doing. It's because he's carrying heaven, and when he goes to these nations, they see the possibilities. Because when you have heaven, all doors open. There's no more lack. Man, these guys walk in faith. They push. And so we're an apostolic center. And so I want to today talk about community. Apostolic community, because when you are an apostolic center, it's called family. So we gather around fathers and mothers. Do you hear that? Fathers and mothers. Yes, you always need a head. Because if you don't have a head, I believe men and women are equal. But God had to place somewhere, somebody number, I hate to even say it, but the one, so that there wouldn't be chaos in the home, right? But who here believes women are powerful and they're not second best? We believe that here at Windword, right here. Just right? Might get in trouble, that's okay. Not from us, but live TV, bless you guys. Yeah, women rise up. When I say women rise up, I'm not speaking men get down though either. There's a movement going around that is saying, women rise up, push the guys aside. No, it's both, rise up. We need an army that is going side by side. I came out of the whole Joel's army movement. There was good parts of it, and one of it was they didn't break rank. They were together, marching forward. If you read Joel. Oh, God's good. God is good. So, when it's a family and you're gathering around people, that means we're all sons, daughters, we're brothers, sisters, uncles, and aunts. Grandma and grandpas are in the house. What my passion is strong right now is we got to equip people to know who and what they are in the house. Because once you know who you are in the house, we get to put a demand on you. We get to put a demand on you. And you get to put a demand on us. Oh, Jesus. So, I could call this a life group message too, but we're just calling community. I just want to honor Willis and Linda. They are a gift from God in this body. I don't say it lightly. They have come, and God, when God sends people that are just fit what we need so bad, that's because I believe the favor on this house. Honestly, to have somebody like those two in our church, that's favor. And they love it. They thank us for jumping on their vision, but this is God's vision. Community is God's vision. I'll grab one of Banning's slogans. It's not about It's not just about you and Jesus. You hear that? It's not just about you and Jesus. Is that offending anybody right now? It was never intended to be about just you and Jesus. Let's jump to John 17, 20 to 23. This is Jesus' prayer. It's one of his last prayers before he went into the garden. He had just prayed about his disciples. He prayed about a union with his Father, that he had done what he had been asked to do. That's what it's about, you guys. It's what's the call on your life? That's another thing that's huge in the... I bring it up a lot, but I love, understand. We're all trying to figure out what does apostolic look like today. But that's huge to me, is that it's equipping the saints, raising them up to do stuff. Like literally downstairs in prayer, I actually went to a vision. I watched our service. I watched Jesus walk around and he was poking people and giggling. He's like, come on, wake up to your dreams. Wake up to your dreams. You need them because they need you. We need you to know your dreams so that we can function properly. We can't make it without you guys. This is not about just Brent. It's not about Kevin. It's not about John. It's not about Sharon. It's about all of us together. I love it. Brent's been sharing. Well, that's what I keep on not finishing. I realized that I was like, come on, Brent, preach more on the apostolic. Preach on this stuff because it's a passion of mine. And Lord says, we listen to a lot of, we connect really with Bethel. And he goes, does Bill Johnson talk a lot about apostolic? And he's like, nope. But Chris does. Not saying I'm Chris in any way. But Chris speaks about it because it's hard. Be honestly, because it's in my generation's actually I feel like are getting it, that we don't pump it and make it too scary to talk about. But it's like, oh, Brent, be humble. You better be humble if you put that name on you. No, it's what he's called to do. He didn't say, I'm going to come up here and say I'm an apostle. It's a function he's doing. And I like when he preached it a couple while back. He says, it's only because of what you guys are here, what makes him somebody to be sent. Because we were sent. John 17, 20. And I asked, I'm going to read in the Passion, so you can bring up New King James Version, but I just love the Passion Translation, but we don't have it up there. And I ask not only for these disciples, but also for those who will one day believe in me through their message. I pray for them all to be joined together as one. I like this. This is Jesus is praying for the church to be born with Jewish and non-Jewish believers. Get that? When Jesus is praying this, he's releasing the church not just to be the Jews or the non-Jews, but in oneness. Not fighting over each other. Come on, I'm not against denominationalism. Actually, I'm against denominationalism. I'm not against denominations, because they're doing great things. I'm never against. You will not hear from this pulpit that I believe that we will try not to ever bash a church or a ministry, because we love each other. And the church is amazing, and we just had a meeting today. The church is rising up. That's what we declare out of this place. The church is getting great. The church is powerful, and God's moving it. But in denominationalism, you actually all surrender yourself on agreement on the same thing. So as soon as you disagree, if one person here, this is just the easiest, I don't want to go here, but the easiest, oh, I believe in the rapture 7 pre-trib, and this person believes in post-trib, and instantly they just, oh, you're out of here, because you have to agree with me. But that's the truth. It's simplest form of it, but that's the truth of what it is. And it actually is controlled by the spirit of religion and the spirit of political spirit. Because you have to align yourself constantly to fight to keep people in agreement with you, like a politician has to do. But as a family, who's disagreed with their dad before? And for those who came from a functioning, happy family, did you still have your dad love you afterwards? That's the difference, right there is the simplest way to put it. Your dad, do we always agree on everything, Brent? No. And we can actually talk about it. Yeah, Brent's always right. So, he said that up here, so. Come on. Whew. Even as you and I, Father, are joined together as one, I pray for them to become one with us. Or some say, or in us. For the very glory you have given to me, I have given them, so that they will be joined together as one, and experience the same unity that we enjoy, you will live fully in me, and now I will live fully in them, so that they will experience perfect unity. It's interesting, in the Aramaic it says to shrink into one. So that when we see Jesus in one another, our vaulted opinions of ourselves shrink. Come on. And the world will be convinced that you have sent me. Isn't it interesting? The world is convinced when they see unity in Jesus, the true form of unity. That they will see that you love each other, each one of them, with the same passionate love that you have for me. Oneness. This is God's heart for his people. Not just for Windward, for all people. That's why I said we don't bash other churches. Do we agree with everything going on there? No, but we love them and we want to see them succeed. Right? We have a huge passion for that. Huge. And actually, that's something I've watched Brent live out. He will constantly believe for unity in ways that even gets him in trouble sometimes. Because he'll believe for it. He'll meet with people and say, why aren't we just doing things together? Because that's the apostolic model, right? It's not about controlling people. It's not control. When you hear that, does a father want to control his kid? No. He wants to raise him up to be successful. And you don't actually raise successful people if you just control them. Because when you leave, they can't do anything. And you'll notice that around here. We don't control people. We actually probably need to we sometimes back off a little too much just because we want God to actually have room to work. All right? So there's a war against community in North America. Literally, there's a war. And part of it comes from our Western mindset of how we read the Bible. Because so often we read the Bible as Adam and Eve sinned, and then Jesus came and he saved you. And you forget the major part that happens between all those other verses. And that is those who are in covenant relationship trying to figure it out. Working together, going through struggles, going through life, through the redemption process. If you read all the way through, there's always a redemptive God we're working through all the way. But he teaches and works through people. I'm very careful, I'm jumping around, but so often God is speaking to us and we say, God, I don't hear you, nothing's going on. And he's going, I just talked to you through John. But Lord, I'm not hearing you. I don't get it. I'm asking this question. Why are you not asking? Your wife just spoke to you. That's a good one, eh? But it's true. We so often are so trying to listen to him when he always, through Scripture, not always, very often spoke through people. Because he always intended to be relational. You were never made to be alone. If that was the purpose, he would never have made Eve. He would have said that Adam, kept them good, had his buddy, walked around the garden for eternity. God loves family. He loves people. If you realize it's the only reason we're here. I was going to say he doesn't need us, but for something in God seems to actually need us. It's interesting in saying that. He actually has just felt it. He's just like, there's a desire. And I brought it many times. That's the desire. That's the reason we have free will. Of course he wants no one to fall. No one to fail. And I don't believe anyone was created just to fail. He created everyone with an opportunity, but we make the choices. But the world's looking for us, because we have the answer. We have the answer. Again, I love the church just keeps reminding of Todd White. He's constantly running around telling people and raising up people like we want to do, that we carry the answer. And it breaks my heart every time I think of Todd White because he says something that drives me. And he said, as a non-believer, when he was living not well, he ran around and he had Christians tell him how sinful he was, but no one gave him an answer. No one gave him hope. He never had anybody come to him and say, hey, you know what, God can bring you out of this. No, he was told he was a sinner. We can't be running around telling them they're sinners. They already know that. No, you talk to a party, they know they're sinners. That's why they get so mad at you right away. We don't even get told that we're sinners. So, there's a war against community because we like to be independent. I like this. This is the definition. Not influenced or controlled by others in matters of opinion, conduct, think, or acting for oneself on everything. We like to be independent. We have to change our mindset because community works. Back to what he said, it's not just about you and Jesus. Because he made more than one of us. Yes, we all say he would have died for just you. But I'm probably, if it was just you and no one else, I'd probably figure there was some other way he could have done it easier. Because you would have put him on the cross. Well, think about it, really. And you wouldn't have had your, oh, that's a bad joke. I was going to say that you would have your wife, Eve, to convince you. But, that's bad. But it takes a village to raise a child. It's amazing. For Dawn and I, we love it. We love our kids being part of this ministry. And literally, the other day I realized we forget that we're not always at our church because we were at my child's week college and Kezzy's just running all over the place. And I'm like, Donna, aren't we supposed to go get her? But we're so used to people just looking after our kids, just to be honest. But that's family, right? Literally, Kezia walked her. Judah's up there getting his diploma for week college. And there's Kezia out of nowhere walking up there too. She got it too, so I'm like, oh, do you not notice, babe? We're the only parents that have our kid running around. Christianity and community works. We are constantly running around. I just watched an awesome movie last night. I'm not endorsing it, but it was called Collateral Beauty. It's actually worth watching. But it's interesting because they said that everyone's looking for love. For appetite. Everyone's looking for love. They're running away from death. And the other one is time, and they don't have enough time. And that's what the world keeps on telling you. And we have the answer to love. We have the answer to death. And we have the answer to time. Right? And it only works when you have people around you that actually care. For some of our favorite testimonies we hear, we love miracles, we love the stuff that we hear from people. They said, when we came to Sunday, we felt so loved. We felt so loved. That's huge. That's to us as a testimony that says we're getting somewhere. Because that's God's love. Praise God. Let's jump into, just got to find it there. Okay, 1 Peter 5:5. See, community is a hard choice because you actually have to work with people. Really? And you actually have more than just your opinion, which is constantly a battle with people, because in our North American society, it's just about yourself. What do you want today? What do you want now? I want it this moment. But wisdom doesn't look like that, right? So 1 Peter 5:5 says, likewise, you younger people, submit yourself to elders. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another and be clothed with humility for God. Resist the proud and gives grace to the humble. Submit to each other. We have amazing, elders can be a lot of things, but I actually feel like this is basically submit to those with some wisdom, right? What does it say there? If you resist, the proud, sorry, we read this. Resist, for God resists the proud. I heard Rick Joyner say this once. He says, if there's anybody you don't want to resist, it's God. You want to get in between God and resist it. You don't want to resist that because he kind of controls everything if he wants to. But he releases grace. We need grace, the ability to do something without out of your own power. We need the grace. We need to humble ourselves, right? And so often we don't want to hear each other's opinions. It's actually amazing when you start actually submitting to one another and saying, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? The counsel of many, right? Oh, yes. It's like when you have grace, things just work. So it's like, this is for Brent here. I saw this and I had some notes and I thought this would be great because he loves his boats. So, a motorboat's great, right? It's running and it can rip through the water. But when you take it out of water, What happens to an engine that doesn't have water in it, Brent? It burns out. It needs the grace. It needs the water. All right? As soon as you take it out, you take it out and run off on your own. It's taken out of the safe community. If you don't put water on it, it's gone. It doesn't take long because the water actually cools off the engine, right? I thought Brent would like that because it's a boat. It's also interesting because community speaks truth. And I'm speaking a lot of this hoping that people have heard some of the messages on honor and stuff, right? Because when we start submitting to each other and we are able to speak into each other's lives, I like what Brent says, we're not trying to nitpick each other. That's the key, okay? We're not running around going, oh, I don't like your shirt, it's not the way I like it, or this and that. We're like, if it's not worth bringing up, don't bring it up, right? But it's interesting if you actually allow people to speak into your life. Then you find out really where you're at when you have true people around you. I heard something spoken once. It's interesting when you're in, say we're on a Sunday morning, and we get to experience something together corporately, right? In community, you experience it's something about corporateness of God brings the presence, right? But we also need to be aware of what happens when we leave this place. And we need people around us to say, hey, it's great on Sunday morning, you're a great believer and believe in faith, but what about the rest of the weeks? What's going on in this situation in life? But in a good, because I'm a dad, I want to speak, I sometimes bring things up to Elisha because I want to see him succeed, right? God cares so much about, this one, actually mine there, but turn to Matthew 5:23-24. God cares so much about community and connection that when you read this, if you haven't heard this before, you'll be surprised. Because we do something called communion. It's about remembering what he did on the cross. We always say our connection between Jesus and me is the most important, which it is. And knowing that, because you're saved by your relationship, not by my relationship with Jesus, knowing that and then reading this, it's pretty powerful. It says, therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. I'm just going to read that again, because it just says it so well in Scripture. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother and then come and offer your gift. Jesus said that community is so important that it's better to hold hold your gift to God until community is restored with your brother. God is saying that his relationship with you is not good until you're restored with your brother. That's a heavy one, eh? This is the very act of like communing with God. This is you in your secret place. And he's saying, just hold on a second. I love my people so much that we're not right now because you're not right with somebody else. Keep close accounts, right? It's challenging. It's easy to work things out always on your own, in the sense of not having to get people's opinion because you just get to do what you want to do, right? Who that is married remembers when they were single. You can do whatever you want. Then you have kids, things reflect. You can't just jump off, and sometimes I'm like, what? You're just running off to another country, some young guy, and I'm like, how do you do that? And I'm like, oh yeah, you don't have any responsibility in life. No, you know what I mean. It's true though, right? Strength comes from community. Proverbs 13:20. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. Proverbs talks so much about this stuff. Those able to receive these things are wise when they're able to hear others' opinions, right? Your strength comes a lot from those around you. And you have to be willing to actually hear the real truth. Honestly, I actually find this an issue in Christianity with some of, now hear my heart, I'm not against ministries that are not connected to local churches, but in other words, I actually don't agree with it. Because it's not scriptural. There's connection, there's family, right? But so many, probably because we haven't actually, when I say haven't, the church in general hasn't done family and community very well, that they've had to leave because they felt something from God, and it wasn't accepted. You had to choose. Now, the flip side of that is, let's see that Proverbs 13:20 again. He who walks with wise men will be wise. So, if you're getting spoken over, and those around you are maybe saying that's not the way to go, maybe you shouldn't go start that ministry yet, or make that move, right? Now, everyone's going to agree with you. I'm talking about people that actually have the right heart. You know those people in your life that actually care. The ones that will run with you, the ones that will cry with you, the ones that actually, they're not trying to just hold you somewhere. Right? For me, honestly, this is quite easy because I love people and I love to learn. So I'm constantly asking questions. But even, just as an example of my own life, I just got an RV thing, it doesn't really matter. But I purposely sat down with Brent and said, what do you really think? Like, is this because I felt that, well, we were influenced a little bit from Brent, let's just be honest. He likes his RVs, right? Brent and Sharon. But it was because we actually wanted a way to be able to spend time with our kids. There was more to it. But I heard wisdom from Brent and Sharon, and I think they're amazing. But I also went to my parents, sat down and said, what do you really think? What do you think about this? To be honest, and they'll probably watch this, I thought they were going to say no. Just because it doesn't matter really, but because I just thought they thought we would be nuts. And I walked away, they're like, no, Kevin, this is what's right. I think this is good for your family. I talked to people like Barb and Kevin. We didn't just run out and buy something on a whim. And it's interesting because when you get counsel, when you use wisdom, I got a crazy, crazy deal. Because see, I don't want to waste this time all the time, but if you're going to buy an RV, this is the guy to talk to. No, but I'm making a point here. No, he doesn't want to run around buying RVs for me. Commission. But what I'm saying is that, and for my age group too, and this is something that's hard to do that I've been told. I'm a little different than most people, but I wanted his wisdom. I want him to be there because I bought one that needs a little work, but if I would have saw it myself, I wouldn't know how little work it really was going to be. Well, we'll see, but... No, but I would have known I could do it. Because I brought a father along that looked at it and says, Kevin, we can get this really way better price. You can actually afford this. And with your skills, you can fix this. And it won't cost you a lot. Now, yeah, actually I found out once Brennan, I don't go too much on it, but once I brought it home, I realized we really, really scored. And it's just favorite God, it is. And the thing is that I actually got insight, right? Brent knows this. I told him, if you say this is no good, it's like, I was sold because I was ready to jump in. He knew that, but I asked him, if you think this is no good, it's done. Because you actually get wisdom and actually be okay if it's a no. That's huge. I'll be honest, as leaders, when we meet people, it's sometimes hard because you don't want to, you know your gut, you know, which I'm saying, the Holy Spirit's saying, oh, don't go that way. And you're trying to say it nicely enough so it's not control. But people have to make their own choices, right? And that's sometimes how you'll learn. It's what happens, right? Oh, yeah. Our understanding, our need for people is a sign of strength. Safety is found in community. If you check out Proverbs 11:14, where there's no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety. Proverbs 15:22, without counsel, plans go airy, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. Proverbs 24:6, by the wise counsel you will wage your own, for by wise counsel you will wage your own war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety. And this is hard when you have dreams and passions. Because community does slow things down a bit. It does. It's the cost, but it's worth the cost. Because you don't have to run in and hit a bunch of cars while you're like driving. You slow it down, right? It's interesting. There's always the extremes, and I was talking to Willis this week because in the study of community, you read, and some things our culture is so different than many other cultures because it's all about ourselves. And it's interesting because there's other cultures even in our community, and one in particular. And it's interesting. I hear people, how do they keep on buying houses? How come they are the ones that are succeeding? And it's interesting because if you get to know them, they all live in community, and they actually sacrifice some of their own independence for seasons to get ahead. And I'll be honest, I can say this because I'm white. Our white culture is kind of missing it. It is, it's true. Hey, I built the house with my parents. It's the only reason I can live in the house I live in, and they own half the house. And there's pros and cons. There is, but there's a sacrifice involved in community. And honestly, I don't know how I can live any other way now with our kids. We look and we're like, yes, there's days you're frustrated, but it's like, I love the fact that my family's close by. And my kids know their grandma and grandpa. They know, like, it's interesting, because that's actually how most of the cultures till the last couple hundred years were, right? So on the extreme, it's crazy. And I confirmed to Willis, because I'm hearing all these stories about Africa. See, community is so strong there that literally your house is just open to whoever. And relationship is so important that if you're walking down the street and I saw Brent, and we're both in a rush, we'd still stop for like 15 minutes to discuss our life, because if I didn't, that's dishonor. And say you had to be somewhere in 15 minutes, so then you really have to run, and you walk 2 steps, and there's another friend, they still stop. And Willis confirmed it. I really had to ask Willis this question, because when I heard this, it really threw me. Somebody was in Africa, and they were at a bank. A bank. This is a place of business. And they're in the lineup. And the 3 or 4 people in front of them get to the teller, and they know the teller. They stepped aside and went on a table and sat for 15 minutes while everyone was fine with it. They either left or like, okay. And it's just, but it was fine. This person was not fine. The other person in line, they're like, what are you talking about? But they actually understand that relationships are so important. And I love what Will said. It's like, they literally, nothing is just yours. Now that scares me. Because of how I was raised. No, for real. I'm just being, because all of you guys are thinking the same thing. But he talks, yeah. No, yours. Brent's is nicer. No. See, that's our culture right here. It's freaking us out. But it's totally true, though. That's what I'm trying to. It's great. It's making a point. But Will even says, like, and I heard this when I was studying, that there's places, not just Africa, other places, that there isn't even a word to describe a singularity. To say, like, this is my Bible. This is our Bible. That's the only thing I could say. So he actually shared about how if you don't have a car, that's fine, because if your kid's getting married, that's what he said, and you need a car, you just go to the neighbor's house and take the keys and take the car. And this is still happening? Yep. Linda looks not as impressed, but now I understand your car situation. Because they have so many cars, and that makes sense now. That just totally made sense. No, I love it because, actually, I think they're fine with this, but even I know how Linda was so impacted when she went there. Because she watched how it was so important to connect to people. And that their things they're going through actually matter. That's community, right? That's community. I'm going to quickly jump on. Yeah. It's interesting that even, I'm not going to even read it, just you can check it out. Even Paul did not get sent. He didn't go until he was sent. And you can read that in Acts 13, 1-4. He got blessed. That is so important, because in community you actually get sent. In family you get sent. With the blessing. It's so important, right? And I won't read this either, but if you want to, it's interesting. Even you guys all know the story when Peter gets rebuked by Paul. We get rebuked. Why are you acting when there's when the Jews are here, you act different to the non-Jews? But it was safe. We don't know. I wasn't there, but they actually had relation enough to speak it. And when he saw his brother going the wrong way, he was able to speak into it. And they seemed to still be okay with each other. Right? Because that's community. You actually want to see people succeed so much that you're willing to have true relationship and say, I love you enough that you're actually going the wrong way. Right? I want to know that. I love advice. If you get offended from advice, then you're not really teachable, right? I had John and Bruce in the back there telling me to make sure I talk slow today. Look, they're clapping. That's how. See, is it working? I'm trying to. Oh man. Proverbs 15:10. Harsh discipline is for him who forsakes the way, and he who hates correction will die. That's intense. Proverbs 15:12. A scoffer does not love one who corrects him, nor will he go to the wise. That's a scoffer. That's not a good thing. This is coming from the guy that got the wisdom from heaven. Remember, this is Solomon. He asked for wisdom. And he got it. He who disdains instruction despises his own soul. He who heeds rebuke gets understanding. That's Proverbs 15:32. Proverbs 17:10. Rebuke is more effective for a wise man than 100 blows on a fool. Proverbs 12:1. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. Put that up there. I want to make sure it says that. Proverbs 12:1. That's the New King James says that, eh? Correction is... Look at that. That hits it pretty good right there. Try not to tell my kids to say that word, but... Takes a village to raise a child. Community looks like family. The kingdom of God is set up in family. It doesn't surprise me that the world is trying to screw up what a family looks like. Because that's how the kingdom of God is so modeled on this earth. Right? And if you start not understanding how it's supposed to look in family, and I actually feel for those who were robbed from not knowing what family is. I honestly do. And I understand talking to some people, they just never knew or were never modeled what real family looks like. Man, I'll let you know family sacrifices for each other. Family cares for each other. I was totally blessed, and especially in my Mennonite family, I was learned that they were always going to be there. I got aunts and uncles I could call, right? But that's how this is supposed to be too. It's interesting. Okay, I got 5 minutes here. Banning, I love this. A lot of this stuff is, Banning preaches this stuff all the time. He loves community. Banning Leapshire is the guy that runs Jesus Culture. It was birthed through him, out of Bill Johnson. Oh, quick note, I love this about Banning. He was Bill Johnson's youth pastor, right? And there's a whole story behind that. Because he wasn't going to be, he didn't want to be youth pastor, he was going to go preach around the world. He's going to go to Bible school. And if you ever hear him, he'll say, I needed Bill Johnson with a Bible school. But there's something about when God puts you with the right people, don't think you're too great to learn from them. He talks about how he would start ministering, especially when doors more opened up, bigger Bethel was getting, and he'd be going and there'd be a banner that would say, Banning Leapshire, and then big writing, Bill Johnson's youth pastor. Because no one knew who Banning was, but they knew who Bill Johnson was, right? But he could have got offended. Instead, he went to Bill Johnson and says, Bill, I'm going to run the Bill Johnson train until the end of it, as long as it works. Because he goes, I can put that on you because you're my dad, you're a spiritual father to me. I'm a son. And he is not trying to pave his own road. He's like, I'll take the road that's already built. No, we so often do that. We got to do it our own. I'll take the Brent Borthwick train. Come on. And I'll be honest, a lot of you guys don't know how big that train is. No, I mean that. You guys don't know what happens when you go to other places and you find out. We go down, when he was, I don't know if you missed it or not, but he was just texting back with Chris Vaulton. If you knew, people don't have Chris Vaulton's phone number. I'm not saying Chris is some super, superstar in so-called Christianity. He'd hate that if I said that, but he is. But Brent, these guys love him. Just because of who he is, not because it's because of what God put on his life. And they see it, right? Man, everyone's like, ooh. No, it's a good thing. Ride the train. Ride the train. When I was in Bethel with John, I walked up to Chris Fulton. The first thing I said, I let him know who was with me. I'm like, hey, I'm just, Brent Borthwick says hi. Opens doors. He's like, I love Brent Borthwick. He actually said that. I love Brent Borthwick. Then I reminded him that I used to know him a little bit. Well, he doesn't. Come on, I'm really real. So it's like how many people he knows? But he really knows Brent. Man, that's an Bill Johnson right here. No, Brent Borthwick. No, but that's the truth, right? So back to before I got there is that we can't. This is not just about you and Jesus, because I love this. Banning says this. He goes, when you get to Jesus, get to heaven, and you get before, and you're accountable for what you were called to do in life, what you were called to do. The judgment seat's about what you're called to do. It's not about sin, right? Study that, and I'll preach it someday too. But it's not about what you sin. It's what you were called to do. It was written in the books before you were born. But when you say, Jesus, I did everything I could do, he's not going to look and say that was good enough. Because you say, I did my best, God. He's going to say, no. He says, you weren't supposed to just do your best, Kevin. You're supposed to do your best. You're supposed to grab a hold of Brent's best. You're supposed to grab a hold of your wife's best and use that grace in your life. We have the right to use that grace in people's life around us. So when you hear stories, I've heard this story, and actually it was Banning. So he got a phone call from a friend, and they said, Banning, I just want to let you know, so-and-so, my wife and I are going to get a divorce. I've done my best at everything I could do. And Banning says this, whenever he's told something like that, he asks one question. First, he goes, who's counseling you? Who's surrounding you? And usually at that point, there's nobody. Well, we're ashamed. Get unashamed. That's what the body's about. Grab somebody that has an amazing marriage and talk to them. Come on. I've heard, if you have, a lot of these are bad experiences, but if you have somebody who's in his office and they finally came to him, he's like, oh, did you get that house you wanted? And he's like, well, I don't know about how our finances worked. And it's like, he says, well, why aren't you talking to so-and-so, one of their elders, who's brilliant financial guy? Why are you not getting advice? He's like, well, I didn't want, that's kind of humbling. Well, exactly. I love this point Banning brings up. Humbling hurts. It sometimes hurts. But the benefits, because what does God say he's going to do for the humble? He's going to release the grace. So humble yourself, get help, because you guys, the world's looking for community. They're hungry for community. Everyone in this room, if you sit down and realize that you don't want to be alone, you know what it's like if you've ever been just sitting alone, you're like, I just wish somebody was here. You know what? It's so cool. I heard an awesome testimony. Patricia, where are you? Right here. She just moved yesterday. She's bragging about how her family around here, her church family, moved her, and she's like, it was the simplest thing. You find a lot of what kind of community you've been choosing to participate in is on moving day. It's right? If you let us know. What I mean is that you should have community around you that do know what's going on. Because it's your choice. Don't leave here going, well, this one talked to me, no one did this. Well, the same person's thinking next to you is thinking the same thing. Talk to them. It's your choice of how much you want.
Feel like I'm staring at the sun.